blade wasn't real, but the fear was. Emily Hale stood frozen in the dust-lit training yard as 3 male recruits circled her, their plastic training knives tapping against her sleeves like taunts. They laughed as one of them dragged the dull edge down her uniform and sliced fabric loose, not enough to hurt her body, but enough to tear something deeper, something inside. And though she tried to steady her breath, shame burned hotter than the sun over Coronado. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. She told herself not to cry, not here, not in front of them. But the truth was, she felt painfully alone, trapped between wanting to stand her ground and wanting to run far away from this brutal, unforgiving place. Emily had joined the Pre-Bud S program, believing she could prove her strength, believing discipline and courage lived inside her the same way they lived inside the men who mocked her now. But in that moment, she questioned everything, even herself. The yard grew strangely quiet, as if the world held its breath. A single shadow stretched across the sand toward them, broad, steady, unmistakable, and when the recruits finally noticed, their grins faltered. Chief Mason, the SEAL instructor known for ending careers with a stare alone, walked toward them without a word. Emily's heart hammered. She didn't know whether he'd seen what happened, but she knew this: Mason didn't tolerate weakness, and he didn't tolerate cruelty either. The question was which one he thought she represented. He stopped beside her. His boots crushed the splinters of cut fabric at her feet. For a moment, he said nothing. She felt every breath scrape her lungs. Then, with a voice quiet enough to make the entire yard lean in, he asked, "Whose idea was this?" No one answered. The 3 recruits tried to stand straighter, but fear betrayed them. Shallow breaths, darting eyes, fidgeting hands. Even Emily felt the tension tighten around them like a drawn bowstring. The moral question lingered in her mind. Did she want them punished, or did she want to rise above it? Did revenge, honor, strength, or fracture it? Chief Mason didn't wait for a confession. He had seen enough. With a single gesture, he ordered the 3 into the sparring ring, and before they could even brace themselves, the instructor moved, swift, controlled, devastating. He didn't hurt them beyond what training allowed, but he dismantled their arrogance with precision. Every step he took felt like a tide crashing forward. Every block, every strike, every takedown landed with the unmistakable message: strength isn't cruelty. Strength is responsibility. Dust rose in spirals as the recruits hit the ground, one after another, their training knives scattering across the yard like fallen pride. The watching group murmured in awe. Some nodded, some whispered, and some stared at Emily with new understanding, an understanding they should have had from the start. When the last recruit collapsed in defeat, Mason turned to Emily. She stood rigid, unsure of what came next, unsure whether she'd be blamed for what happened. Instead, he handed her one of the fallen knives. "Your turn," he said. Shock rippled through her. The recruits looked away, bracing for humiliation. But Mason's voice softened just enough for her to hear the respect buried in it. Not on them. On doubt. On whatever made you believe you weren't enough. Something shifted inside her. Maybe it was courage. Maybe it was relief. Maybe it was the realization that someone finally saw her not as a weak link, but as a soldier becoming stronger. She tightened her grip on the knife, feeling its weight, and slashed it downward through the air. And for the first time, she felt the cut land not on fabric, but on fear itself. Chief Mason nodded. A small, rare smile tugged at the edge of his expression. Around them, the one silent crowd erupted into applause. Sudden, honest, unforced. Emily blinked against unexpected warmth. She hadn't been alone after all. Justice had arrived not with anger, but with clarity, because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back. And in the yard where her uniform had been cut apart, Emily learned that sometimes the strongest stitch is the one woven through courage. If this story moved you, share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more stories that remind us why strength and humanity must always walk together. Your next story is waiting, don't miss it.